It was a quiet night, and after a long week, my friends and I decided to get away from the city for a while. Nature seemed like the perfect place to clear our minds. We packed our gear, grabbed our cameras, and headed out. Our destination? An old, abandoned park on the outskirts of town. The locals always called it strange, a place that had a bad reputation. Whispers about disappearances, strange sightings, and unexplainable noises surrounded it. But none of us believed in such things. We were just looking for a peaceful place to take some cool, atmospheric night photos. As we arrived, the eerie atmosphere of the park immediately hit us. The place was completely run down. The trees loomed overhead, their bare branches creaking in the wind. Rusted benches sat under an overgrowth of weeds, and crumbling stone paths stretched out like forgotten trails. In the dim light of our flashlights, everything seemed to move and shift, shadows playing tricks on our eyes. We laughed it off, trying to shake off the chill in the air. This was just a park, nothing more. But even so, there was a heaviness to the air, a feeling that something wasn't quite right. We wandered deeper into the park, taking in the desolate beauty around us. At one point, we stumbled upon an old gazebo, its roof nearly caved in, its walls covered in vines. It was the perfect spot for a photo. I stood in front of it, positioned just right, ready for the shot. I pressed the shutter on my camera, the flashlight illuminating my face. For a second, I had the weirdest feeling like someone was watching me, but when I looked around, there was no one there. Just the darkness of the park surrounding us. The photo was perfect, except when I looked at it later, I noticed something strange. There was another figure standing behind me, just a few feet away. It was hard to tell in the picture, but it looked like me. Exactly like me. I zoomed in on the image, trying to make sense of it. But there was no way I could have missed a person standing that close to me. I was sure I was alone when the photo was taken. The next morning, I sat down to go through the photos from the night. I was expecting to relive our fun, carefree moments, laughing at how bad some of the shots were or sharing our favorite ones. But as I scrolled through them, one photo stopped me in my tracks. It was the one from the gazebo. At first, everything seemed normal, just me standing there, looking at the camera. But then I noticed something in the background. There was another person standing behind me. It was a figure that looked exactly like me, but something was off. I zoomed in on the figure, my heart racing. It wasn't just a shadow or some weird camera glitch. The figure had a shape and form. It looked like a person, but it didn't feel like me. It was standing still, its face hidden in the darkness, but there was no way anyone had been that close to me at the time. I checked the other photos from that same shot, trying to figure out if it was some optical illusion. But there was nothing in the other pictures, nothing but the usual shots of my friends and I laughing and having fun. I showed the photo to my friends, and they tried to brush it off. Maybe it was someone who had wandered into the shot by accident, they suggested. Or maybe it was just a trick of the light. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. No one had been near me at the time, and yet there was a figure standing behind me. It wasn't just a strange shadow. It was a person, my double. At first, my friends laughed it off. They said I was overthinking it, that I'd had too much fun the night before and was seeing things. But I wasn't so sure. Something about the photo didn't sit right with me. Why had it appeared? What was the connection? We were in the middle of an abandoned park, and the last thing I expected to see was another person in my shot, especially one who looked exactly like me. As the conversation continued, one of my friends suggested that we should just leave. The park was starting to get to him, and the mood had shifted. I could tell everyone was feeling a little uneasy, but I couldn't let it go. I wanted to understand what had happened. I needed to know who or what that figure was. I wasn't going to leave until I figured it out. Maybe it was nothing, but I had to be sure. The day had gone by quickly, and soon it was time to head back into the park, though the lingering unease from the previous night hadn't faded. My friends weren't thrilled about it, but they agreed to go with me. I had to find some sort of explanation for what I had seen. It felt like we were walking in circles, each of us trying to pretend the strange feeling wasn't there. But there was something about the park that felt like it was watching us, as though the trees, the broken paths, and even the old gazebo had secrets buried within them. I decided to take another photo, hoping that maybe the weirdness would be gone, that I could just brush it off as a strange coincidence. I stood in the same spot as the night before near the gazebo, and once again aimed my camera at the frame. My friends stood around, talking quietly, but I wasn't paying attention. I was fixated on the photo, convinced I could catch the oddness in the moment, whatever it was. When I looked at the photo, after I'd taken it, I froze. The figure that had appeared the night before was back, this time closer. It was standing right behind me, only a few feet away. It wasn't just a shadow, it was a solid, distinct shape. But even more unsettling was that it was no longer merely a figure. This time, it was not just a shape that resembled me. It had details that were hard to ignore. The figure looked like me in every way, but something about its posture, the way it stood, seemed off. It wasn't a reflection of me. It was something else. Something darker. I showed the photo to my friends again, but this time, the mood was different. No one laughed or shrugged it off. We all saw it, and we all felt the same sense of dread. The figure was real, and it wasn't supposed to be there. "Let's just go," one of my friends said. "This place is weird, and we're all starting to freak out." But I refused to leave. I wanted to know what this was, and I wasn't about to let my fear take control. Something about that figure, it was too much of a coincidence. The whole situation felt like a riddle that needed solving, a mystery that would follow me if I didn't face it. I insisted that we keep looking around the park, searching for anything that could explain what was happening. But even as we walked, the oppressive atmosphere around us grew thicker. The further we ventured into the park, the more unnerving things became. I kept looking over my shoulder, convinced that something was following us, just out of sight, but close enough to make me feel like we weren't alone. Every rustling leaf, every snapped twig felt like a warning. Then I heard it. Footsteps behind me. At first, I thought it was just one of my friends walking up to catch up, but when I turned around, there was no one there. Just the empty park and the wind whispering through the trees. I told myself I was imagining things. After all, it was dark, and the wind played tricks on your mind. But as we continued walking, the footsteps grew louder. "Hey, are you sure you're okay?" one of my friends asked as I slowed down, looking around nervously. "You're acting a little off." "I keep hearing footsteps," I said. "But no one's behind me." "I'm not crazy, I swear." But they weren't convinced. They were getting anxious too. I could see it in their eyes. The park was starting to feel suffocating, like we were walking into something we weren't supposed to find. Just as I was about to suggest we leave, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, seeing the screen light up as if I had received a notification. But there was nothing on the screen when I unlocked it. Only a photo. The same one I had taken earlier, the one with the figure standing right behind me. But this time, the figure was much closer. It was almost touching me. And when I looked up from the phone, I swear I saw it again, right behind me, standing in the same place as in the photo. My heart skipped a beat. That was enough. My friends were already heading back to the car, but I couldn't stop. I had to see if there was anything else in the park. Anything that could explain why this was happening. The panic in the air was palpable as we rushed toward the car. But when we reached it, we found that the engine wouldn't start. No matter how many times we turned the key, it wouldn't fire. The lights in the car flickered, and suddenly, everything went silent. I felt it then, the unmistakable sense that we were trapped. I could see my friends' anxious faces in the dim glow of the car's lights. I told them to keep trying with the engine, but my mind wasn't focused on the car. It was focused on the feeling that something or someone was just behind me. Something was getting closer, and I knew it wasn't my imagination. I could feel it in my bones. Then, the lights in the car flickered again and went out completely. The darkness closed in around us. I felt my heart pounding in my chest, but I couldn't move. It was like something had frozen me in place. The world around me felt completely still. Time seemed to stop. When the lights came back on, I found myself standing in the park alone. The car was gone. My friends were gone. It was like they had disappeared into the night. I tried to call them, but there was no answer. I shouted their names, but the park remained silent. Everything seemed the same, but I knew it wasn't. I wasn't the same. I took out my phone and snapped a picture of the empty park, desperate to make sense of what was happening. But when I looked at the photo, my stomach dropped. I wasn't alone in the picture anymore. In the background, standing right behind me, was another person, a stranger. But this time, it wasn't just my double. It was someone completely different. A dark figure, watching me from the shadows. And then I realized, maybe I had never been alone. Maybe I never would be.